Developing right now on Fox 13 News at 9.
We have multiple shooters in a situation.
If they fired shots, I'm certain they were in fear of their life.
What police say was a routine traffic stop leads to one person being shot and 5 officers being put on administrative leave. We hear from the police chief as well as a woman who works nearby.
Right now, areas of snow in southern Utah and into Arizona. What to expect for the rest of tonight and for your morning commute.
Just didn't bring in enough, anticipating a very snowy winter.
And shoppers are scrambling to get what they need ahead of this next storm.
On the first day of Women's History Month, the University of Utah is leading conversations around violence towards women.
Utah's Olympic legacy is solid, but what about its Olympic future? A new facility behind me that just opened today is going to make sure that's a reality.
Live from Utah's news leader, Fox 13 News at 9 starts right now.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. I'm Kelly Chapman. One person was shot in Farmington this afternoon after what police are calling a routine traffic stop. Fox 13 News reporter Chris Arnold has been at the scene. He joins us live from 145 East and State Street. Chris.
Well, yeah, good evening, Kelly. The scene here did clear out about an hour or so ago, but plenty of questions remain here tonight. We did ask the Farmington police chief if the person that was shot inside that car had or presented a weapon at the time this all took place. It's something he says the protocol team will work to answer as their investigation into this continues. But what we do know right now is that this whole incident started just before 3:30 this afternoon when the police chief says one of his officers went to pull a car over for a missing license plate.
Any available units. We have multiple shooters in a situation.
The cops were everywhere.
We're going to need extra officers.
I could not come up the street to get to work because I only live a block and a half over here.
A chaotic scene playing out right across the street from where Ruby Stevens works.
My coworker told me what he saw, which was the officers walking up on the car, 3 on one side and 1 on the other, and they opened the door of the car, and then all of a sudden they all jumped back.
Farmington Police Chief Eric Johnson says after one of his officers made a traffic stop in the parking lot of the post office, that officer asked for other assistance. A short time later, the chief says that officer called over the radio that shots had been fired.
From what I know, the person was still inside the car when shots were fired.
Chief Johnson says 5 of his officers were on scene when the shooting took place.
The officers started doing CPR immediately. Our fire department is right there, literally 2 buildings away. They were on scene fast.
The person inside of that sedan was transported to a local hospital. The police chief didn't provide their identity at this time. None of the 5 officers involved were injured. The chief was asked if there was any indication as to why his officers may have felt threatened and opened fire.
Other than that's how we train, and I know my guys, and if they fired shots, I'm certain they were in fear of their life.
Chief Johnson says officers were on both sides of the sedan, but was unsure of how many shots were fired and from how many officers that were on the scene.
When I moved here, it was a quiet little neighborhood.
Stevens says incidents like this, unfortunately, can happen anywhere.
As long as my community's safe, we'll be all right.
But now, while the chief was able to tell us that the person shot was taken to the hospital, he was unable to provide that person's condition at this time. Now, he did say that all 5 officers have been put on paid administrative leave at this time. He did go on to tell us that makes up about 20% of his department at this time. Now, again, plenty of questions remain out here tonight. Did that person inside the sedan have or present a weapon at the time this took place? And what prompted the officers to open fire and shoot into that car during this incident? Of course, this is something we will continue to follow. When those details are made available, we will be able to give them to you. But for now, live here in Farmington, Chris Arnold, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Yeah, those answers will be needed. Thanks so much, Chris. Switching gears now to weather. Snow still coming down in parts of the Beehive State. This is a live look on I-70 in Sevier County. Nobody driving through this stretch of freeway right now, Allison.
Road's still a little slick out there. I know there's not a whole lot coming down, but still struggling with some visibility over towards the Uinta Basin, where we do have that down to 4 miles for Roosevelt. So down towards the Price area into southern Utah, visibility is a full 10 miles. We love to see that Storm is really winding down a bit earlier than expected. We will continue with some areas of snow into the overnight hours, mainly towards southeastern Utah, but we head into tonight and tomorrow morning, and even though we're not expecting a whole lot more snow, roads will likely still be slick out there, so we could see some icy patches. Still travel with caution. By 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, our storm is mainly out of here, off to the south and off to the east. Temperatures in the teens and 20s when you wake up on your Thursday morning. For the Wasatch Front through tonight, we'll keep our temperatures into the mid to upper 20s throughout the overnight hours, with temperatures for Salt Lake about 20 to 25 for overnight lows tonight. Might see a few flurries out there, but the storm is winding down. More storms are on the way. What to expect this weekend coming up.
A police chase in West Valley City led to one person being hit by a car and caused American Preparatory Academy to go on lockdown today. This all happened in the area of 3500 West and 3200 South. Unified Police's Metro Gang Unit was going after 21-year-old Marcos Garcia Lugo. He allegedly had a gun and drugs with him. We're told the suspect drove away after he was pulled over, causing another car crash that spun into a pedestrian. That victim was sent to the hospital. They will be okay. The suspect then ran away and went into a house, but eventually was taken into custody. In Draper, police are investigating an alleged attempted abduction. A Draper Park Middle School student says it happened around 3 p.m. Tuesday afternoon as she was walking home from school right near the intersection of Rambling Road and Highland Drive. She says two men inside a pickup truck approached her, claiming they were sent by her mother to pick her up. When she told them that she would call her mom to confirm, they drove off. Detectives say they are still working on learning more about the suspects and the truck. Today marks the first day of Women's History Month, a time to celebrate women in the state while addressing the issues they continue to face. Fox 13 News reporter Jenna Bree tells us why the University of Utah is kicking March off with a conversation around domestic violence.
So things have changed. It's not just women having the conversation, but it needs to be everyone.
The U of U kicked off Women's History Month Wednesday with a panel discussion on gender-based violence.
We know that oftentimes while all genders can experience abuse, is that we know that the likelihood, though, of women identifying people, transgender and gender nonconforming people experiencing it is a lot higher than their male counterparts.
The theme of this year's Women's Week is making public policy personal. The U of U is putting on a number of events, from keynote speakers to film screenings and a women's social and mixer.
We come together with events that can get at some of the hard-hitting issues, right? We can talk about serious stuff, but we can also celebrate.
These panelists are encouraged after seeing a domestic violence bill passing in the state legislature Wednesday. The bill requires police in Utah to conduct lethality assessments, a series of questions that determine whether someone in a domestic violence situation is at risk of being murdered.
I'm pleased that this legislature has really taken domestic violence seriously, and I am very sorry that it had to be based on, tragedy. But the thing is, these tragedies can happen to any of us, and so we need to have a strong system in place that has consistent funding.
The legislature has also approved $24 million in funding to expand domestic violence victim services across Utah. In Salt Lake City, Jenna Bree, Fox 13 News, Utah.
If you or someone you know is experiencing domestic violence, free support is available 24/7. Just call 1-800-897-LINK. That's 1-800-897-5465. You can also find resources from the Utah Domestic Violence Coalition on their website, udvc.org. The debate over taxes has just been wrapped up into one big bill that passed the Utah State Senate tonight. This is a major piece of legislation, so let's break down on what it does. The income tax gets cut from 4.85% down now to 4.65%. That's about a $200 a year cut for an average Utah family making an average salary. There is an expansion on the earned income tax credit for low-income Utahns, and Social Security tax credit threshold is increased to $75,000. And here's the big thing. The state portion of the sales tax on food is removed, but that's if voters approve a constitutional amendment on the earmark for education on the income tax. The latest deal being negotiated on that would keep the earmark, but let the state dip into pay for other fiscal needs. Democrats voted against the bill because they do not have the final language on that proposed amendment. But the bill now goes to the House of Representatives. A bill to expand all-day kindergarten to every school district in Utah has passed the legislature. It's a big bill for child advocates who say it will help kids get a start on education and also help families overall. The bill now goes to the governor for his signature or veto.
Really what we need is physical, simple water to lake now.
Great Salt Lake advocates protested on Utah's Capitol Hill today. Why they say the bills that are passing don't do enough. Plus, a bill that could help thousands of Utahns with debilitating diseases and expensive medications has been held in committee. The Fox 13 Investigates team breaks down why.
With record amounts of snow in Utah this season, how stores are dealing with the demand for supplies.
The Utah Valley men's basketball team has a chance to win a WAC championship with a win tonight. I'll have the highlights coming up.
With the significant snowpack that's built up already so far this year in our mountains, officials are planning ahead for the spring snowmelt.
The snowpack also presents an opportunity for us to manage runoff this year in a way that we haven't had to the last few years of drought.
Now, one of the ways the Salt Lake City Department of Public Utilities is managing the melt is starting controlled releases of water from Little Dell and Mountain Dell reservoirs.
95% of our water that we get in the state of Utah comes from our snowpack. And so clearly when all that snow melts, we want it to get to our storage systems in a way that's constructive. And we don't want to see flooding. We're encouraged about all this snow that we're getting this year, but we also want it to land in our reservoirs in a way that's not going to cause problems.
Now, due to these controlled releases, creeks will be moving faster. So please be extra careful around Parley's Creek, Emigration Creek, Mill Creek, Red Butte Creek, and City Creek. Meantime, hardware stores, they are busier than usual, trying just to keep up with people's needs. Fox 13 News reporter Maithili Gubi visited a couple of stores today to see what's available and what's now in short supply.
When you need your shovel, you need your shovel.
It's been a pretty busy winter across the state.
We were down to just a little bit here. We probably had 3 times as much at one point.
With stores trying to keep up with things that people need.
Completely run out of snow shovels and brushes for vehicles. Trying to get more. We still do have plenty of ice melt mostly. We've been able to keep that in stock. They've been reshipping it to us as needed, and that's been great.
Debbie West at America's Country Store in Woods Cross said they started running out of supplies in January.
Brought in what we usually bring in to handle a normal Utah winter, well, or a light Utah winter, and we just didn't bring in enough, anticipating a very snowy winter.
Ace Hardware in downtown Salt Lake does have some supplies left, but those are dwindling.
We've never been out of stock, but there are certain SKUs, you know, certain shovels maybe that all of a sudden you're just out of. So you have to either get some more of those or find a different snow shovel, different snow sled.
The store says they sold out of these shovels at one point, selling about 70 of them this season. But of this shovel, they sold about 150 of them, which is about 50% more than they have in previous years.
By this time last year, this was all converted over to summer, you know, lawn and garden.
Larry Britton lives in Bountiful and says shovels are flying off shelves more than he has seen before.
And so I was looking for a nice wide shovel. And I saw it at the hardware store, and when I went back, all sold out. So I had to buy a littler one.
And stores still seeing customers looking for shovels a couple months into the season.
We usually don't see them coming this late, but this year everything is kind of a surprise. Everything's a little bit new to us.
I'm Maitili Gobi reporting. Fox 13 News, Utah.
Winter and the snowstorm certainly not over. I always like to have as many snow shovels as I have people living in my house.
Yes, teamwork makes
so
dream
there's
work.
no excuse.
That's right. I like to keep a portable shovel in my car.
It's a good idea.
In case you ever get stuck somewhere. What else do I keep in my car? Kitty litter. That's good for traction if you're ever stuck anywhere. I like to keep an emergency kit in my car. You're always so blankets.
Prepared.
Oh my goodness, extra
I'm going
clothes.
home with you the next bad snowstorm.
Yes, I'm always overly prepared, but we've got a lot happening mainly to our south tonight. We're at the tail end of this winter storm, so you'll have a break from shoveling as you head into tomorrow. I can promise you that. But across to the south into Arizona, across the border right now, just south of Utah, a lot of snow and rain coming down. But for us here across Utah, storm is basically clearing. I do want to let you know that just a moment ago, many of our winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories across southwest and central Utah were allowed to be canceled early. But we still have some winter storm warnings down towards Blanding, the LaSalle Mountains. This takes us through tomorrow morning. 2 to 4 more inches there. Wind gusts 35 miles per hour. And then for our winter weather advisories in eastern Utah and southeastern Utah, we're looking at an additional 2 inches of snow possible through 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, and also some wind gusts up to 35 miles per hour. Winter storm warnings just west of the Utah border into Nevada, and then also just into Arizona, northwest Arizona, winter storm warnings. So for tonight, we still have some areas of flurries coming down. We also still have a few flurries flying here across the Salt Lake Valley right now along the Wasatch Front, but roads could still be a bit icy tonight, especially as we see cold temperatures into the overnight hours. So still keep that in mind as you're traveling. Be careful with your speeds heading into tonight and tomorrow morning. And then we also have a lot of wind in the forecast for tonight for lower Washington County. So this is going to take us 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. We're going to see some wind, about 25 to 35 miles per hour, gusts possible up to 55 miles per hour. So that could make travel a bit difficult. However, it's going to be a north wind, so hopefully it doesn't do too much impact along our main interstates right there along I-15. So wind advisories tonight for lower Washington County, those will start in a few hours. We'll have gusty conditions overnight and into tomorrow morning, and then it'll be a little breezy across the state tomorrow, but not as bad as it has been on and off over the past few weeks. Overnight temperatures 15 to 25 tomorrow morning. We will have some clear skies as you wake up, so it'll be chilly. And then we are hardly going to warm up tomorrow. We'll have our temperatures mid to upper 30s here in Salt Lake City. And as we look at futurecasts, this storm is mainly to our south now. Still seeing some impacts across the region, but for us here in Utah, we've got a bit of a break heading into tomorrow. However, by Friday, more chances for some areas of snow to return as we're going to continue with some weak disturbances starting Friday through next week. So we have some more chances for snow on the way. St. George, you're about 50 tomorrow, and then I know many of you are looking forward to this, close to 60 degrees Saturday and Sunday. So you've got a very comfortable 7-day forecast, dry conditions for you from here on out. And then for us here in Salt Lake, tomorrow mostly cloudy, temperatures in the mid-30s. Friday, 36. We are back to some chances for some widespread snow, mainly light snow in the forecast with some weak storms. By Saturday and Sunday, as we warm into the 40s, we could maybe see a little bit of rain mixing in, so some chances for rain. I don't want you to be too intimidated when you see the 7-day forecast. You see that chance for rain or snow throughout much of the next week. It is not going to be a washout here across the state for the next week. So we'll talk more about this active storm pattern and break down your snow chances here in Salt Lake coming up in the Super 7-day forecast.
Thanks, Allison. Straight ahead, why was Senator Mike Lee's personal Twitter account suspended? Twitter CEO Elon Musk explains why. Plus, details on a new price cap on insulin, how Utahns say this will impact them. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. In national news tonight, the personal Twitter account of Utah Senator Mike Lee is back online after it was temporarily suspended. Lee says his account at Based Mike Lee was suspended today without explanation, saying he wasn't alerted ahead of time or given any reason as to why. Lee had tweeted about the origins of COVID, the Ukrainian president, and he called on Japan to free Navy Lieutenant Ridge Alconis before his suspension. Twitter CEO Elon Musk posted about the snafu, saying, quote, his personal account was incorrectly flagged as impersonation, which is not totally crazy since it is based, end quote. A major pharmaceutical company, Eli Lilly, announced plans to slash insulin prices by 70% and cap monthly costs at $35. The company's announcement today comes as the Biden administration has pressured the industry to lower prices. It is welcome news for the roughly 7 million Americans who use insulin daily to treat diabetes, some of whom have had to ration it out, all because of high prices and inadequate insurance coverage. Type 1 diabetic Natasha Youngberg says she hopes it puts pressure now on other companies to lower their prices as well.
I think with any drug that is going to be life-changing or something that is dependent for someone to live, that has to be an affordable cost. And knowing how much they can make it for and then how much they're actually making off of it is honestly very disheartening.
Eli Lilly says it will cut the list price of its non-branded insulin to $25 a vial as of May 1st, making it the lowest list-priced mealtime insulin available.
Even the bills last year that they're touting have not been implemented yet.
Frustration is mounting over the legislature and the Great Salt Lake.
Utahns living with debilitating illnesses and paying huge amounts of money. Tonight, a bill meant to help them has stalled. Fox 13's investigative team digs deeper.
High school basketball playoffs roll on. The 5A quarterfinals. I'll have the highlights coming up.
These skiers behind me are some of the first ones to head up to this new training facility to cement Utah's Olympic future. We'll tell you about it ahead.
They're kicking the can down the road with creating all of these procedural administrative bodies when really what we need is physical, simple water to lake now.
Frustration over the legislature's actions or lack thereof about the Great Salt Lake. Environmentalists say the legislature is all talk and no action when it comes to getting water into the lake. Fox 13 News political reporter Ben Winslow is on Capitol Hill with more.
Over and over again through this legislative session, they've had many opportunities which they failed to take action on.
Members of the group Save Our Great Salt Lake protested outside the House chamber.
We got here by following false gods.
With a list of measures they say needs to be implemented to help reverse the declines of the Great Salt Lake, including a conservation-first approach, more involvement with community groups, an end to Bear River development, agriculture changes, and getting water into the lake.
At least we need is their commitment to assure that in 2023 water is getting to Great Salt Lake.
The group says bills that will help the lake aren't passing, while others that are getting through the legislative session don't do enough.
None of these are getting water to the lake in the short term, which is the thing that we need. They're administrative. I mean, maybe there's great things that can happen once they are fully implemented, but even the bills last year that they're touting have not been implemented yet.
On Wednesday, the legislature did pass some big bills to help the lake, including one creating a special commissioner to oversee a plan to save the lake, and another to help agriculture producers cut their water use.
We've made long-term solutions at our basis, and that's what we're doing with ag water optimization. That's what we're doing with our conservation plans. These are plans that will be meaningful year after year after year, and we will make a difference going forward.
It's hard to know if we're doing enough, but we are doing a lot to help the lake.
Representative Doug Owens' bill bans watering lawns from October 1st to April 25th, but a provision to demand conserved water be put in the Great Salt Lake was stripped out.
We were unable to get the piece where that water gets moved to the lake, but we are going to ask for that to be done voluntarily this year, and it's going to be mandatory soon.
While the clock may be running out on this legislative session, lawmakers and environmental activists are planning more bills next year aimed at the Great Salt Lake. The group Save Our Great Salt Lake would like to see a special fund created to help people with asthma and cancers as a result of breathing in toxic dust.
I'm really worried about all of the people living in Magna and Harriman and West Jordan and directly on the West Side corridor from Great Salt Lake who have already been breathing really toxic dust.
On the Hill, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Also on the Hill today, groups including Planned Parenthood and the ACLU of Utah addressed abortion bills in circulation. Last week, a Senate committee voted in favor of a series of abortion bills, including House Bill 467, which would close abortion clinics by the year 2024.
Every pregnancy and every family is different. We must acknowledge the complexities of medical decisions and listen to and respect patients' and families' decisions.
Planned Parenthood and other organizations keep all options on the table. These bills have not been finalized yet, and so we wait and see exactly what gets passed by the legislature, and then we go and we do a very fine-tooth comb look at what it does to abortion access or any other impact on health care or rights here in Utah to determine what our next steps might be.
Other groups like Pro-Life Utah have previously shared they are happy to see the bill move forward. At last check, the bill is in the Senate for its second reading. A bill aimed to help patients suffering with debilitating illnesses keep more money in their pockets has been held in a committee at the legislature. And with the session wrapping up at the end of this week, the bill is essentially on pause until at least next year. Fox 13 News consumer investigative reporter Robin Oginye has tonight's update.
I first met a man by the name of Steven Syvac a couple of months ago. He's living with lifelong cancer. His medication to keep him alive is north of $200,000 a year. He came to us at Fox 13 after the insurance company essentially nixed his copay and back-billed him for nearly a year's worth of appointments and medication, leaving him thousands of dollars in debt. This is the bill that would prevent that from happening. Steven is just one of many Utahns that have experienced copay accumulator adjustment. This happens when health plans and pharmacy benefit managers, called PBMs for short, exclude copay assistance from counting toward a patient's deductible. It's a practice often referred to as double dipping because the PBMs are keeping that money for profit. This bill would require that money to apply to a patient's deductible from the start. Here's some of what was said in committee yesterday before the vote. You'll first hear from a patient stakeholder group, then you'll hear from the sponsor of the bill, Senator Kurt Bramble.
Nothing is going to be learned in interim that we don't already know. Let's help these patients now. Let's save them today, and let's honestly allow that money to go where it's designed to be.
The battle between PBMs and insurance companies and pharma, that's something that we need to address. All sides of this. We had an insurance company say, well, we could support the bill if you require them to be transparent. And I said, well, if we require pharma to be transparent, I could get behind that, but the health insurance program and the PBMs would have to be transparent as well. And it was like, oh, well, we can't be transparent on our side. They need to be transparent. And when you talk to pharma says we can't be transparent. The other guys need to. That's a battle that's ongoing.
So here's how that committee voted. Only Representative Brian King voted to advance the bill. Those yay votes you see were to hold the bill. I reached out to Senator Bramble's office for comment on the bill's status. They say he would rather not comment at this time. We're going to continue to follow this and ask those representatives why they voted no. Robin Oginye, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Coming up, an updated timeline to what went down at Canyon View High School on Monday. The steps the school and law enforcement say were taken after a former student assaulted another and pointed a gun at 4 others. And the Davis School District is being sued, accused of ignoring the needs of a disabled junior high student. Hear from that student along with her family next. Tonight, we have an updated timeline from the Cedar City Police Department on what led up to a teen allegedly pulling a gun on a student, later assaulting another, and then being arrested the next day. Police say around noon Monday, a student approached the school resource officer to tell him it looked like a juvenile was pointing a gun at him as they drove away, but it was difficult to be sure. Around 2:30 p.m., 2 students reported that a different student had been assaulted in the parking lot. They confirmed the possible identity of the suspect, but it wasn't until Tuesday at 6:30 a.m. the officer was able to obtain physical evidence they had a gun. Parents in Cedar City are outraged, saying they were not notified soon enough by the district.
They could have reached out to the parents and let us know what happened. And I know there are probably reasons why they didn't. I know that I would have liked to have known.
Officials say the suspect's home was under constant surveillance before school began, all the way up until an arrest. They say neither law enforcement or school officials believe that there was an active threat to students on Monday or Tuesday to require a lockdown. On Monday, the family of a Kaysville junior high student filed a lawsuit against the Davis School District, claiming the district is violating her civil rights and the Americans with Disabilities Act. 14-year-old Isabel George has had a school aide ever since she entered the district at the age of 3. She has multiple conditions where her brain does not send her a signal to breathe. Last month, the school pulled her aide off her 504 plan, despite her parents' attempts to provide doctors' letters and other aides' testimonies.
Just because they were born different, because they don't fit your perfect box, it is not right for you to say that they're not enough to live, because that's what they're doing at this point.
The Davis School District has had a history of being investigated by the Department of Justice. Isabel's attorney says 30% of her cases come out of the district. We reached out to Davis Schools for comment. They said that because of pending litigation, they will not provide a response. Still ahead, the Fox 13 Dream Team waits at Neighborhood House in Salt Lake City to surprise a man whose passion for teaching and advocacy for people of color have made him a pillar in the community.
These skiers going up this chairlift behind me, well, they're some of the first that are experiencing a new training facility to cement Utah's Olympic future.
And coming up in sports, the high school basketball playoffs continue with 5A quarterfinals at Weber State. And Utah Valley went after a WAC championship tonight on their home court. The highlights are on the way.
With Sam Houston still leading them.
A live look right now in Box Elder County. This is along I-84. I do want to let you know that UDOT has reports of black ice from blowing snow along I-84 in northern Utah right now. So even though the storm is winding down, we still have some travel impacts. Be careful on the roads. Your forecast is coming up in a few minutes.
Well, now to the latest surprise from the Fox 13 Dream Team. This month's recipient is a Salt Lake City man who's helping children learn about their heritage and also to have empathy for others. Nate Manuel is a beloved youth leader at Neighborhood House. That's a nonprofit organization that provides daycare services for both children and adults. He's a Native American man whose kindness, patience, and advocacy for people of color has left a big impression on the young children he works with. But last fall, Manuel was diagnosed with ALS, and despite his diagnosis, his positive outlook has not wavered.
He has not given any ounce of give up at all on anything. He's just, nope, I'm going to keep fighting. I'm going to find answers. I'm going to find a way. He's been normalizing it for the kids, which is great. He's been telling them, we all have hard times and we just got to fight through it.
My co-anchor Bob Evans, along with Mountain America Credit Union and the rest of the Fox 13 Dream Team, surprised him with $1,500 for life expenses, as well as cooking lessons with a professional chef and 4 tickets to go to the theater. We asked him what inspires him to keep going to work at Neighborhood House every day, despite his ongoing battle with ALS.
I think probably the biggest thing is that there's gonna come a time where me and all the entire school age program and everybody here is not gonna be able to do what we do, and we had to do right by the youth because that's our future. That's the leaders of tomorrow.
Oh, he is so right. If you would like to, and if you can help Nate out, we have a link to a GoFundMe page where you can support by donating money. You can find that link on our website, fox13now.com. And if you do know someone who could also use a Dream Team surprise, just like Nate, click on the Dream Team tab on our website, fox13now.com. Fill out the nomination form. Let us know exactly what they need and why they mean so much to you. Well, it's now been close to a year since the Utah Olympic Park started construction on a new facility with the goal of training new generations of Utah Olympic athletes. Fox 13 News reporter Spencer Joseph met up with all the skiers today, anxiously awaiting a chance to hit the slopes.
It's going to be truly transformative for so many young people.
It's a day years in the making.
The best is yet to come.
Finally, Wednesday, the day had come to open the Spencer Eccles Olympic Mountain Center, all led by Eccles himself, whose $5 million donation made this possible.
3, 2, 1, let's get this thing going.
And right behind, a huge line of eagerly awaiting skiers.
Yes.
To be the first ones on the hill, like Jeremy Mathers.
Like they said, it's a game changer. The skiing is going to be great. The training is going to be awesome.
As an athlete in the U of U ski team, this is going to be a facility he can now train at.
I live in Salt Lake, so I was driving up all summer, and I could see the progression every month.
With many already speeding by. After the quick interview break, he also eagerly got on to the powder.
It is such a culmination and evolution.
Jamie Kimball is the general manager.
And this really now allows those athletes to do one spot from the time they start training all the way up to the Olympic level.
Same hat and all, we talked to him back in August as the project got off the ground. Now it's a dream come true.
The discussions started all the way back in 2010.
This is unbelievable.
Fraser Bullock is excited for another reason. As the chair of the committee to bring the Olympics back to Utah, this could be another potential venue for the Games.
This will be an Olympic venue.
Whether it's ski racing, ski jumping, freestyle skiing.
So we could have alpine events, we could have snowboard events, we could have cross, we could have half pipe.
But there's a twist. This training facility is also built with the caveat to bring those who couldn't normally get the opportunity to train to become athletes. So as those like Jeremy get to training,
It's hopefully going to make kids fall in love with it more because we have this awesome venue now.
For athletes or a venue, it's guaranteed Utah's Olympic future. What is it about Utah that makes it so amazing to train Olympic athletes here?
I mean, you're looking at it, right? It is a pretty amazing spot to have everything in one area.
Spencer Joseph, Fox 13 News.
It's like nowhere else.
Utah.
Well, here across the state tonight, I got a lot of questions on social media about what are the bright lights that people could see right next to each other. We've been running stories on this all week. It is the conjunction of Venus and Jupiter. They appear to be kissing in the sky tonight. So if you saw these bright lights like this picture from Joe Hodges, thank you so much for sharing with us. We would love to see your pictures and videos in the Utah's Weather Authority Facebook group. Right now here in Salt Lake, it's 34 degrees. We do have some clearing currently, so that conjunction has been visible for portions of the Wasatch Front tonight. Temperatures feeling like they're in the 20s for Salt Lake right now. We still have some areas of clouds and also some rain and snow across southern Utah, but Arizona is expected to get the brunt of the precipitation into the overnight hours. However, we still have wind in the forecast for southwest Utah tonight, and we still could see some areas of snow, mainly across southern and eastern Utah into tomorrow morning. So Thursday at 7 a.m., you wake up, it's about 15 to 25 here across the state. Our storm is mainly to our south. And then throughout the day tomorrow, we will see some increasing clouds with temperatures only rising into the 30s for Provo, for Tooele, for Salt Lake, for Ogden. Cache Valley in the 20s tomorrow, Vernal 22. Uinta Basin has had some low visibility today. Also some slick spots still remain. And we're also getting reports of ice right now along I-84 due to blowing snow near Tremonton. We have some more snow in the forecast too. Take a look at your screen. This is for Ogden. Your chance of precipitation for Thursday night and Friday starts to tick up again. So we're going to see, starting Thursday night, more weak disturbances moving through. So we'll have more chances for snow Thursday night into Friday, Saturday into Saturday night, Sunday into Sunday night, and then on and off into next week. I do want to let you know we are not expecting these to be major storm systems, but enough that we could have some slick spots out on the roads. For Provo, your chance of precipitation will be up a little bit come Friday, but mainly just widely scattered. You've got a little bit better chance for some snow to return Saturday night, Sunday, and Sunday night for Provo. And for St. George, we are expecting you to have a very comfortable 7-day forecast with a lot of sunshine. Additional snow tonight, as you'll notice, is mainly right at the Arizona border and further south. So Lake Powell and further south was where we're likely going to see 3 to 12 inches of snow into northern Arizona. For us across Utah, we still could see a dusting of snow, some flurries out there, areas of blowing snow that will create icy conditions. So we'll still have some travel impacts tonight, just not as much as into Arizona. St. George close to 50 tomorrow, closer to 60 this weekend. For Salt Lake, 35 tomorrow, mostly cloudy, widespread snow by Friday. 40s this weekend, more chances for widely scattered snow into next week.
It's a great night for the Wolverines. The Utah Valley men's basketball team has won the WAC regular season championship for the third time in program history. The Wolverines got it done at home against UT Arlington. First half, Aziz Bandago, a follow-up jam to beat the buzzer. 10 points, 11 rebounds. The Wolverines led by just one at the half, but they opened it up in the second. Justin Harmon, the bucket, and one. He led the Wolverines with 17 points. Then it's Tim Fuller rocks the rim. Utah Valley won at 78-59 to clinch at least a share of the WAC title. They can win it outright on Friday. Southern Utah hosted Grand Canyon first half. Tevion Jones fires up the three. It's good. He finished with 14 points. Izan Fassett had a huge game for the Thunderbirds. Knocks down the three. He kept firing, scored 31 points, but Grand Canyon won it 83-78. Utah Tech at home against Seattle. Isaiah Pope, the breakaway, throws it down. He led the Trailblazers with 22 points. But how about this step back from Cameron Gooden? He had 17 points. Utah Tech with a big win, 93-56. Utah State still a shot at an at-large bid in the NCAA tournament. They're playing UNLV tonight in Las Vegas. Stephen Ashworth, the bucket. The Aggies lead it 38-25 late in the first half. 5A quarterfinals. We start with Cottonwood and Timpview. The Colts riding a 22-game winning streak. Chris Cox, the corner three for the Colts. Timpview, though, led it by 2 at the half. Strong take here from James Rust. He had 13 points, 9 rebounds for the Thunderbirds. Other end, smooth handles and laying by Cottonwood's Jackson Price, 2 of his 13, but the T-Wolves stayed ahead. Jaquiz Villa scores. Timpview won at 60-55. Timpview gets the winner between Orem and Lehigh. Anthony Felice had a huge game for the Tigers. Corner three is good for Orem's number one. Then the number one on the other side is also feeling it. Cooper Lewis, the jumper, he led all scorers with 31 points. But back to Felice, only a freshman, another three. He led the Tigers with 24 points, 8 rebounds. Timpview moves on, or Orem moves on with a 58-50 win. Orem, that is. On the other side of the bracket, Region 6 foes Olympus and Brighton. Nash Matheson for the Bengals. Turnaround is good. He had 27 points. But then Gavin Lowe jumps the passing lane. Easy finish ahead for the Titans. He finished with 15 points. Olympus had their way in the second quarter. Dutch Dowdell rings the bell. He had 20. Olympus won at 70-55. They'll face Alta in the semifinals. Utah Valley winning the WAC championship. That's pretty impressive.
That's really great.
Now they got to win the
team.
tournament in Las Vegas, and then they go to the NCAA tournament. But they got to win the.
And you know what today is?
What's today?
March 1st.
Hey, it's here.
Are you ready for some madness?
You might have noticed with all this basketball highlights. It's here.
A lot of basketball. Good games, too. Yeah. Thanks, Jeff. We'll be right back. Just be careful. It is snowing and very slick in some parts of the state.
Some icy conditions reported I-84 in Tremont right now.
Thanks for being with us. Quick Cast is next.